like some of those stuff. Now, we actually made this exact video last year, the same time last year. We did 10 predictions for 2024. Now, in terms of how I did in that video, well, I'll tell you my predictions now. So I predicted Jude Bellingham would win the Ballon d'Or. Did not happen, but he did finish third. I predicted Mo Salah will be playing in Saudi, which he's pretty much far from. He is ended 2024 in maybe the best form of his life at Liverpool. I did say Manchester City will win 4 Premier Leagues in a row, so I did get that prediction correct. I said Girona will finish above Barcelona in La Liga. They did not. They finished 4 points off them in third place. Barca finished second last season. I then said, this is one I'm actually pretty proud of. I said English teams will flop in Europe, which is correct, because if you remember at the time, Aston Villa were the favourites to win the Conference League, Liverpool were the clear favourites to win the Europa League, and Manchester City were the favourites to win the Champions League. I said none of them were going to win it. I said I wouldn't be surprised if none of them even made the final. Well, Villa didn't even make the final of the Conference League, neither did Liverpool in the Europa League, and no English team made it to the Champions League semi-finals, so pretty happy about that one. I did though say Newcastle would sack Eddie Howe, which was wrong. I mean, he did go for a pretty rough spell, but he has completely turned it around and looks pretty safe in his job right now. I said England would fail at Euro 2024. Now, I mean, that's kind of up for debate. We reached a final, but we didn't win. Is that a failure? I don't know. Give myself like half a point there. I then said Pochettino and Den Haag would be sacked, which did happen. I said De Zerbi would join a big club. Now, he did leave this year, well, last year, but he left for Marseille, which, with all due respect, I was talking, sort of like your Bayerns, your Man Cities, and that Marseille historic club, but in terms of right now, are not like one of the best teams in Europe, so I was kind of wrong there, and I did say Mbappe would join Madrid, but I think everyone sort of predicted that, so in the end I got 4.5 out of 10 predictions right, which isn't actually too bad, but this year I'm aiming for better. I'm aiming for bigger and better. I've gone for some sort of bold predictions, I've gone for some sort of safe ones, so we'll see how we do. Get your predictions in the comments below though for 2025, because I will react to them when I do this video at the end of 2025, or I might actually just react to this video in general. Last year we had Mark in the comments who gave his predictions. He said Den Haag would be sacked, which did happen. He, like me, said England will flop at the Euros, which is up for debate. He did say Liverpool would win the league. Unfortunately, he was 1 year out with that one. But he also did say this one, which was pretty good. He said Rashford would score less than 5 league goals this season. Now, he ended up getting 7, so he was slightly wrong, but I mean, the premise was pretty good. And at the time, it was kind of crazy to think Rashford would be that bad. So, fair play to him. Anyways, let's begin. So, I've got some pretty crazy ones, I've got some kind of safe ones, and prediction number 1 is Ange Postecoglou will leave Spurs. So we start with a mild prediction to ease us in, and that's Ange Postecoglou will not be Spurs manager at the end of 2025. Now it's safe to say Ange and Spurs have not really had a good 2024. They came into the year with very high hopes after a great start to the season and played some really good style of play under their new manager, but it's quickly gone downhill. They've had some awful form in 2024, and going into the new year are mid-table off the back of some horrible defeats, including a 6-3 loss to Liverpool 4-3 loss to Chelsea and a home loss to Ipswich. The feeling from a lot of Spurs fans is they're already fed up of Ange and his stubbornness. And while they've had some good results, it does feel it's only a matter of when, not if, Ange leaves. Now in terms of time frame, I would probably say he does get until at least March to turn results around. But I think if they get knocked out of the Carabao Cup and Europa League, and they don't turn their form around in the league, then he's definitely gone. In fact, I don't think he's their manager by the start of next season, and if he is, then he definitely won't be by the end of 2025. I also think there's a genuine chance he just walks. He does seem kind of fed up with all the questions about his style of play and has had so many clashes with the fans and media already. So I really wouldn't be shocked if he just says forget this and leaves on his own accord. Either way, I think it's almost guaranteed that Spurs will have a new manager in the year 2025. Number 2, the Europa League will have a new winner. This, again, isn't the wildest take, but I think we're almost guaranteed a surprise new winner of the Europa League this year. Last season, Atalanta won the trophy as a new winner. I think gone are the days of Sevilla winning it every year. We're going to get back-to-back first-time champions. Now if we have a look at who's currently favourites for the Europa League, I mean there's not really one clear favourite right now, but it's probably between Man United, Spurs, Lazio, Atletico Bilbao, Frankfurt and Galatasaray. Then you have a bunch of other guys like Roma, Lyon, Fenerbahce, Porto, Rangers, Sociedad, who could easily win it too. Out of all of the teams I've mentioned, the only ones who've actually won a UEFA Cup or Europa League before are Man United, Spurs, Frankfurt, Porto and Galatasaray. Everybody else would be a first-time winner. I think it is more than likely one of those will win the competition. As for who, I'm not really sure, but if I had to pick, I would go for the fairy tale story of Atletico Bilbao, who actually host the final. What a story that would be to win their first ever European trophy in their own ground as well. So yeah, that's prediction number 2 for Europa League. The Europa League is going to get a new winner. Prediction number 3. Xabi Alonso becomes Real Madrid manager. Okay, now we're a lot spicier with these takes. Prediction 3 is Madrid are going to get a new manager this year, and it's going to be Xabi Alonso. Now, this might seem not really too spicy, as it does feel eventually Alonso will be Madrid manager. But we mustn't forget that Ancelotti actually signed a new contract at the start of this season, and that contract ends in 2026, not 2025. Xabi Alonso also has a contract expiring in 2026, meaning surely it's the perfect combo. 2026, Alonso becomes Madrid manager and they don't have to pay to sack Ancelotti or pay to buy Alonso. And it's just a perfect seamless changeover. However, I think they will go 1 year ahead of schedule based on how this season has gone. Madrid have struggled massively and Carlo has come under some stick from some Madrid fans already. It does feel Madrid are not the same team as before under Ancelotti, who maybe hasn't got as much magic left in him anymore. I think Madrid have a underwhelming season this year, maybe even go trophyless. And Perez says to Carlo, you know what, thanks for your service, but we need a new face to lead us now. I also think Alonso, if offered, would take the job now, as it does seem the Leverkusen project is slowly sort of falling down. And again, I think they probably will go trophyless too this year. They could also lose some big players in the summer like a Verts, like a Frimpong, so Alonso may see this as his best chance to jump ship. As, you know, in 2026 you never know what's going to happen. He might, have all capitulated at Leverkusen by then. So yeah, that's my prediction number 3. Madrid jump the gun and in 2025 will sign Alonso as their new manager, with Carlo Ancelotti probably just going to manage Brazil or just retire off in the sunset on a beach somewhere. Number 4. Manchester City avoid a big punishment for FFP. Okay, so prediction number 4, I really hope is wrong, but I just don't think it will be. 2025 is a massive year for Manchester City, as not only are they going to need to rebuild their squad and get out of their worst ever spell under Pep Guardiola, but they also will likely find out the fate of their ongoing court case. We all know about 115, and of course on paper it doesn't sound good. 115 charges against them from the Premier League. How could they possibly get away with it? Well, as much as I would like Manchester City to get demoted to the National League and stripped of all titles, I just don't think it's realistic. When we look at past histories of clubs being taken to court, nothing major ever really happens. Chelsea were given a 1-year transfer ban, same with Real Madrid and Atletico, and also Manchester City themselves, for pretty much the exact same thing they were being charged for, financial doping. They were given a transfer ban and a ban from Europe, which they appealed and won. Also, a lot of the 115 charges are sort of very small. It's more like 5 really big charges and then a bunch of small minor issues which can be handled by like little petty fines. So I think with all the lawyers they have, Manchester City are going to do the most they can to get away with it, and I think at worst we'll maybe have a transfer ban for a year and a big fine. Potentially a small points deduction, but I don't think anything major will happen. I don't think we're going to get demoted or anything. And even if there is a big punishment, Manchester City will just appeal it. They'll drag out the process. It's going to take ages, and eventually they'll probably win the appeal and get away with it. So yeah, I don't think anything really catastrophic is going to happen to Manchester City with 115 charges in 2025. Number 5. Inter Milan win Serie A. Serie A is the most unpredictable, craziest league in the world right now. There's about 4 teams in the title race, and honestly any one of them could win it. Since Juventus's monopoly was collapsed, Serie A has had a new winner every single year for the last 4 seasons. No team has defended their ground since Juve, showing how competitive Serie A has been recently. However, I think Inter Milan will be the ones to break this streak and will finally retain their title as the best team in Italy. I think Inter are actually the best team in Italy based on talent and how they play, but they've just slipped up a little bit early on in the season a couple times this year, which has cost them. I think they are going to build up more consistency in 2025. They ended 2024 on sensational form. I think they're going to take the title with their class and experience shining through, while teams like Napoli and Atalanta struggle to keep up with the incredible consistency into sets. I also think, and we'll come to this later, but Inter could genuinely have a very deep Champions League run, and who knows, maybe even repeat the insane triple they had under Mourinho back in the day. But for now, I do think Serie A is going to be theirs again. I think in those big games, particularly Inter are much better than Atalanta and Napoli when they're coming up against those bigger sides. Inter know how to win, they know how to beat those bigger teams. So yeah, Inter Milan are going to be Scudetto champions once again. Number 6. Marcus Rashford has a renaissance. Rashford's career is almost over now. it seems he has pretty much peaked already at the age of 27, and his United career for sure is over. He's been left out of most squads from Ruben Amorim and hasn't really done anything for the last 2 seasons now. He's all but out the door with 2025 being the year Rashford will leave Man United for the first time in his career. I think this might be the thing though that ignites him. I do believe 2025 will be the year Rashford rises again. Now we all know Rashford has talent. That's pretty clear. I mean, that first season under Eric Ten Hag, Rashford was genuinely one of the best attackers in Europe. And on his day, he can be great. I think his issue is that he's just been at Man United for too long and he's lost that hunger, that motivation to succeed. When he got that new big contract, he felt like he was the man, the guy, and didn't have anything left to prove. However, now he's leaving United, he needs to prove himself once again, and I think he's going to get that drive back. We've seen players in his position have the same thing. Think Lingard. He had some great moments for Man United, but really struggled in his last couple seasons. He looked completely finished, and then went on loan to West Ham, a new environment. He was motivated, hungry to succeed, and then he absolutely exploded and found his form again. Jadon Sancho, last year, he looked finished at Man United, goes on loan to Borussia Dortmund, does pretty good in a new environment, gets a move to Chelsea where he's also been pretty decent and has managed to get his career back on track. Rashford, for me, actually has a lot more ability and a higher ceiling than both of those two. So I think he probably gets a loan abroad in January, finds his feet again and then leaves permanently in the summer, and is back on fire once again. I mean, it's either that or he makes a move, fails to resurrect his career and is pretty much finished. But I'll be optimistic for him and say Rashford will sort out his career in 2025. Prediction number 7. There will be multiple £100 million signings this year. The last year, 2024, was quite a poor one when it came to big money, big name transfers. Most clubs, due to FFP concerns, never spent a lot, and there's not really any major big money signings. However, I think that's all going to change in 2025, and clubs will get that checkbook out again. I think one of the reasons clubs also never spent so much last year was due to many players not really being available. However, now I think there's a lot of big names potentially available, and I think the likes of Victor Gyökeres, Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, Alexander Isak, Xavi Simons, Benjamin Sesko and others will potentially be on the move in 2025. I think at least one, probably multiple players in 2025 will leave for over £100 million. Manchester City, if my other prediction is right, and they don't get a big punishment, should be back in the market as they look to rebuild their squad. So I would expect them to make a transfer at least close to £100 million this year. Real Madrid haven't really spent a lot of money on anybody recently, just buying players on a free. So maybe they splash out this year. I think Liverpool will also make some moves, particularly if they lose, one of or multiple of Mo Salah, Trent, Van Dijk. They're going to need to replace these with some elite players. Man United will also look to invest heavily, surely, for Ruben Amorim, who is going to be in his first transfer window this year. And also Chelsea may potentially enter the market for a player to push them over the line, and if they really want to go for the title next year. Same for Arsenal as well. PSG haven't signed a big name in a while, so yeah, I think there's plenty of clubs who are going to spend quite big in 2025, and I think there's going to be some major moves this year with at least one, but I think there'll definitely be multiple over £100 signings. Number 8. A non-recent winner will win the Champions League. Okay, so I mentioned earlier I would talk about the UCL, and here it is. I think we're going to get a new winner this year. Well, not a new winner, but a team who hasn't won the Champions League in quite a while will win it this year. The Champions League for me is the most open it's been for years this season. There is genuinely no outright favourite right now, with typical favourites Real Madrid and Manchester City looking not so great this season. Liverpool are probably the favourites based on form, but, you know, Arne Slot has only just come through the door. Let's see how he does in knockout football, and, you know, can they maintain a charge on multiple fronts? They're going for the Prem, which is definitely going to be their priority, still in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup as well. I do think it will sort of catch up with them, and yeah, I don't think they're going to win it, to be honest. I think they'll probably win the Prem, but winning both the Prem and Champions League is a little bit of a stretch. Bayern Munich have won it fairly recently, but they've really struggled in big games this season, and I think over 2 legs in a Champions League tie, I'm not sure are going to be able to beat a Real Madrid or a Liverpool. Manchester City, I mean, they're just not winning it unless something remarkable happens or they have an insane turn in form. They're not going to win it, are they? Real Madrid may just, well, go ahead and win it, because even when they're playing bad, they still manage to win it, but I think they have a lot of injury problems, and yeah, I don't think they're going to do it. So that's all the recent winners. If I was to pick one sort of non-recent winner who I think could win it, I think my best bet is either Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, or even Barcelona. You know, we've come quite close recently in the Champions League to a, you know, sort of newish winner. Dortmund in the last final, Inter Milan in the final before that. So I think this will be the year where finally we do get a different winner on the trophy. I'm not sure who. As I said, I'm probably backing Atletico Madrid, Inter or Barca to win it. But yeah, I do think there'll be a new one who hasn't won the trophy in quite a while, or maybe even a first time winner this year. Number 9. Real Madrid signed Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I've mentioned Real Madrid quite a bit this video, but I do think they will be at the centre of many things in 2025. One of the things they will definitely be at the centre of is the transfer rumour surrounding Trent Alexander-Arnold. Van Dijk, Salah and Trent all have contracts expiring in 2025, as I mentioned earlier. However, I think Salah and Van Dijk will stay. Trent, though, I believe he's gone. I think he's going to Madrid and is going to become a Galactico in 2025. He does seem like he's very, very interested in Madrid, and, you know, it would be a great career move for him. I know he's a boyhood scouser, but the chance to play for Real Madrid with the likes of Mbappe, Bellingham, Vinny, it's just too good of an opportunity to turn down. And I don't think Liverpool would offer him enough money to stay. So yeah, I think he joins Madrid, who are very clearly interested in him, and he's going to complete their superstar team. I mean, they could get Alonso Davies in the summer as well for free, which would be wild, but I'm not going to put my neck on the line and say they get both. For now, though, I would say Trent joins Madrid, Salah and Van Dijk stay at Liverpool, and yeah, Trent is going to be managed by Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid in 2025. That is my prediction. Okay, finally, prediction number 10. The final one here is Erik ten Hag gets a big job again. So my final prediction is a bit of a random one, and it's the return of the GOAT, Erik ten Hag. Now, Ten Hag was sacked in 2024 despite winning the FA Cup after a disastrous year as United manager. Now, it's safe to say that despite winning some trophies, he did a very bad job with Man United, and the idea of another big club appointing him would be pretty wild at this stage. However, for some reason, I think Ten Hag actually has a pretty decent standing in the game. Like, let's not forget that even when he was struggling at Man United, Bayern Munich were reportedly still keen on him, replacing Tuchel, which is pretty crazy. I think there's still the idea within football that based on his Ajax days, Ten Hag sort of comes from the Cruyff school of thought and plays really good football, which just isn't the case. But that reputation should be enough for him to land a pretty decent job. Now, also, I'm pretty sure United are not going to get much better in 2025, which is going to massively help his case, as it's going to make out like, oh, actually Ten Hag did a pretty good job at United given the trophies he's won. With how bad United are doing under Amorim, I think it will actually help boost Ten Hag's reputation somewhat. I think he probably will get a decently good job abroad, definitely not in the Prem. I honestly think he could go to like a PSG or even a Bayern Munich, which would be pretty crazy to see him there. But yeah, I think somehow, someway, this guy's going to finesse his way into a big job back into management in 2025. Yeah, which, I mean, that would be pretty hilarious if he did, and United were still struggling. But yeah, those are my 10 predictions for 2025. Let's run through them one more time then. So, my 10 predictions for 2025 are: Ange Postecoglou will leave Spurs, Xabi Alonso will become Real Madrid manager, a non-recent winner will win the Champions League, there will be multiple £100 million signings this year, Manchester City will avoid a big punishment for 115 charges, Real Madrid will sign Trent while Salah and Van Dijk stay, Inter Milan will win Serie A, Rashford will have a renaissance, the Europa League will get a new winner,